Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopidhanna Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jai Ho Gopidhanna Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yasodanandana Bradadana Ranjana. Yasodanandana Bradadana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Banachari. Yamuna Tira Banachari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopidhanna Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yasodanandana Brajadana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Banachari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Sadara Satasi Srimati Rani Goswami Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Gaur Pramanandi Hari Hari Bo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 11th chapter, text number 5. Sa Vasana Atma Vishaya Uparaktaha Guna Pravaha Sattvaguna. No. It's not there in the word for word. Not in this. No, I'm saying in the word for word here, Vikrita is not there. It comes later. It comes in the next line. There's a mistake here in the print. No, Vikrita comes after Sattvaguna. Yes. They don't see the word for word. So, okay. Vikritaha Sodashatma Bibrat Pratannamabi Rupabedam Antarbhavishtam Cha Purais tanoti Savasanatma Vishayo Parakto Guna Pravaho Vikrita Sodashatma Bibrat Pratang Nama Virupa Bedam Antar Bahistvam Chapuraistanoti Savasanatma Vishayo Parakto Guna Pravaho Vikrita Sorashatma Bibrat Pratang Nama Virupa Bedham Antar Bahistvam Chapuraistanoti Vasanatma Vishayo Parakto Una Pravaho Vikrita Sodashatma Tarbahishvam Chapurastanoti Savasanatma Vishayo Parakto Guna Pravaho Vikrita Sodashatma Rupa Vedho Krishna Bhakti Savasana Shoparakto Guna Pravaho Vikrita Sodashatma Gripapitam Nama Virupa Bedham Antar Bahistvam Chapuraistanoti Saha that Vasana endowed with many desires Atma the mind Vishaya Uparaktaha attached to mature happiness sense gratification Guna Pravaha driven by the force of either Sattvagun, Rajagun or Tamagun Vikritaha transformed by lust and so on Sodasha Atma the chief of the 16 material elements the 5 gross elements the 10 senses and the mind Bibrat wandering Prataknamabhi with separate names Rupa Bedam assuming different forms Antak Bahistvam the quality of being first class or last class Cha and Purai with different bodily forms Tanoti manifests translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Because the mind is absorbed in desires for pious and impious activities, it is naturally subjected to the transformations of lust and anger. In this way, it becomes attracted to material sense enjoyment. In other words, the mind is conducted by the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. There are 11 senses and 5 material elements, and out of these 16 items, the mind is the chief. Therefore, the mind brings about birth in different types of bodies among demigods, human beings, animals, and birds. When the mind is situated in a higher or lower position, it accepts a higher or lower material body. Purport. Transmigration among the 8,400,000 species is due to the minds being polluted by certain material qualities. Due to the mind, the soul is subjected to pious and impious activities. The continuation of material existence is like the waves of material nature. In this regard, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Mayara vashe yochcha beshe kachcha habudububai. My dear brother, the spirit soul is completely under the control of Maya, and you are being carried away by its waves. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudhatma kartahamiti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself the doer of activities which are in actuality carried out by nature. Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter, text 27. Material existence means being fully controlled by material nature. The mind is the center for accepting the dictations of material nature. In this way, the living entity is carried away in different types of bodies continuously, millennium after millennium. Krishna bhuli se jiva nadir bahir mukha, ata eva maya tore doya samsara dukha. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, 20th chapter, 117. Due to the living entity's forgetfulness of Krishna, one is bound by the laws of material nature. Savasanatma vishayo parakto guna pravaho vikritaso dashatma bibrat pritannama virupa bedam antar bahishvam chapuraistanoti. Because the mind is absorbed in desires for pious and impious activities, it is naturally subjected to the transformations of lust and anger. In this way, it becomes attracted to material sense enjoyment. In other words, the mind is conducted by the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. There are 11 senses and 5 material elements, and out of these 16 items, the mind is the chief. Therefore, the mind brings about birth in different types of bodies among demigods, human beings, animals, and birds. When the mind is situated in a higher or lower position, it accepts a higher or lower material body. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kedamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripadam Aham Vande Sri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanyeshwaram Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. With the blessings of all the Vaishnavas. Here in this section of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Jad Bharat is explaining Atma Tattva Gyan, the science of the self, to Maharaj Rahugana. And in this verse today, he's speaking about the mind. The mind can either be our best friend or our worst enemy. Has your mind ever tormented you? Huh? Right now, yeah, right. How long is this going to go, right? When can I be out of here? The mind is always looking for an escape route. That is the nature of the mind, trying to avoid the issue, especially when it has to face the music, when it has to hear about itself, about its own state, about its own nature. The mind doesn't like that. So it kind of rebels. It kind of says, we heard this before. Didn't we discuss this before? Let's bring something new. Let's get some other topic in. So here, saha, that, vasana, endowed with many desires. Vasanas, desires, vasana also means impressions on the mind. So whatever we expose ourselves or our mind to, that will leave impressions in our mental landscape. And we tend to react on these impressions. Did you ever watch something and then all of a sudden you thought, oh, let me have that? Do you ever do online shopping? No, you don't, right? You're all renounced. You never go on Amazon. You never order stuff, right? But has it ever happened to you that you watched something and then all of a sudden that mysterious desire appeared in your mind that I could use this? I need this? Actually, I want this. Actually, I can't live without this. Actually, I'm ordering this right now. Has it ever happened to you? Or is it just me? And you go down a rabbit hole of reading reviews and seeing and comparing till hopefully at one point intelligence kicks in and says, hey, wait. You don't need more stuff. You're okay, right? You can do without it. Just walk away from it. Just close that window and you'll still be okay. Have you ever tried that? To just detach? Like we heard yesterday. Abhyasena and vairagyena. By constant spiritual practice and by vairagya, by detachment, by philosophically, analytically understanding, I am not that. I am not what the mind is trying to make of it. I'm actually Atma. I'm actually a spirit soul. I'm actually Satchidananda. I'm perfect as is. I don't have to add anything or subtract anything. I can just be. I don't have to try to be somebody. I know it's California. Everybody wants to be somebody, right? You go down to the ocean and you can see everybody's trying to play their little act in their little movie script. But actually, we're born perfect. We are parts and parcels of Krishna. And as such, we don't have any want, any lacking. But when we come into this world of names and we identify with all these different higher and lower forms of life, then we think, I need, I want. In fact, I can't live without any of this. In fact, all of this is not enough because my desires are unlimited. These desires are like the waves in the ocean. How many waves are there in the ocean? Approximately. Infinite, correct. Yeah. And so some of them might be torrentious, might be huge, but some of them might be very small, very minute. But there's waves nonetheless. In a similar way, even though we may be practicing a spiritual path, there are still impressions coming in and there's still waves. There's still certain types of inklings, certain types of desires that we think, yeah, this would be nice. And guess what? You're going to have to experience it because it's in your mind and you're starting to move towards acting upon it. So all of a sudden we find ourselves in a situation where we're trapped, we're just surrounded by that, and it's very difficult to get out of it. And all of a sudden we are like driftwood washing up on the shore, and we feel like completely spent, completely chewed and spat out by Maya. So that is the unfortunate position of the living entity in the material world who is, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, completely under the control of Maya and carried away by its waves. These waves can carry you away. Of course, everybody thinks I'm an expert surfer, right? I got it figured out. I know how this game works because I've been doing this for a while. But everybody gets crushed and ground up. And so, we are very fortunate that we have this opportunity to hear Jat Bharat give us Atma Tattva Gyan. And by the purport of the Acharyas, by Srila Prabhupada, we get a clear roadmap. We get a clear blueprint how to get out of this contraption, out of this mire of the material world, which is simply grinding everybody up. Nobody gets out alive. The death rate is still 100%, I believe, even in San Diego, right? But that's a few may get out, right? Just yeah, they got a plan. They got to figure it out. Especially those high net worth individuals, right? They have some contingency plan where they can, get their PCR test in time so they can actually make it out, right? But for the rest, they're not going to go anywhere. So, we cannot stop the desires of the mind. Why? Because we're sentient. We're sentient beings. That means not only do we have a body which comprises of 10 senses and the mind, which are the knowledge acquiring and the working senses, but the soul is sensuous. The soul is sentient. So it wants to experience rasa. Raso vai saha. We're here because we want to experience taste. That is normal. Like we're smelling and tasting and hearing and seeing and touching. So to negate that is not really very productive because it will be against our inherent nature. Therefore, in Bhakti, we do not try to bring everything to zero, but we try to redirect, to direct our propensity to experience towards Krishna. Savai mana Krishna padara vindayor vachangsi vaikunta gunanu varnane karau harer mandira marjana dishu shrutim chakarachuta satkatodaye mukunda lingale darshane drisha, and so on and so on. So Maharaj Ambarish, he was very expertly engaging all of his sensory capacity with Krishna, and thus it was the cause of his liberation. Whereas persons who are trying to negate the senses, what happens? Yenye ravindaksha vimukta maninas tvayastabhava ravishuddha buddhaya aruya krichchrena paramapatamata patantya donadrida yushmadangrayaha. Even though they're working very hard to try to detach, actually there's not that many these days. Yesterday I met two, actually, at the farmer's market. There were two brothers from Bosnia, Yugoslavia, and I asked him, where are you from? And he reacted like the four Kumaras when they were when they were asking Hansa Avatar, who are you? And Hansa Avatar said, what a useless question. What an external question. They were like, do you have something relevant, something important to say? Then say it. But otherwise, don't speak. Yeah, they reacted like that. And then I gave them the book and we started discussing Atma Tattva Gyan. And that was more to their liking. But then they also realized that their realization was just Brahman. They were just trying to be and trying to detach from all that there is in the material world. But they had no information about what is beyond. So, yeah, right there, right 1 block from here. We had a moment of connection. And they accepted the science of self-realization and generously handed over 7 EBT dollars. They get these coupons for getting produce like that, which you can trade in for real dollars if your farm stand is friendly and compliant. And one was a very pious person who also gave a whole bag full of groceries for the deities. So it is not possible to just be a spectator. As much as we like to not get involved, only looking, no touching, right? No, I'm not going to get into this. I'm just going to be the observer. But it's not possible because the mind works in such ways that as soon as we contemplate, the next step follows. Dhyayato vishaya pungsang sangaste shupajayate sangat sanjayate kama krodo bijayate. And you think kama, not such a bad thing, right? A little bit of lust, a little bit of desire, a bit of, are you enthusiastic about something here in this world? Come on. Not really. Huh?
I am.
You are good. Thanks for...
Enthusiastic about gardening.
Yeah.
Enthusiastic about life.
That's great. So we think a little bit of lust, a little bit of zest for life, right, would be a good spice. But there's a problem. What is that problem? Lust never comes alone. That lust has got a few brothers, There's the nice guy knocking at the door, but there's always a few other guys behind him. And what's that? Kam, Krodh, Lobha, Moha, Mada, and Matsarya. So it really goes downhill fast. It really goes south. So everybody thinks, what about a little bit of a bit of romance, a bit of relationship, a bit of sensual experience, a bit of stimulation, right? But then comes unfulfilled desire, which leads to anger, to disappointment, to illusion, to madness. Of course, envy is there along the way, and all these other factors. And the living entity finds itself completely captured by these highway robbers. They're compared as highway robbers. People who just try to pounce on you and devour you. It's a very, very precarious situation. So therefore, we have to study the Bhagavatam so that our impressions, our vasanas, will not be sensory impressions, but they actually be impressions of Krishna conscious experiences. So that when these waves occur, and believe it or not, they will occur. They have been occurring since time immemorial, and they will be occurring in the future. That then we are strongly immersed, we're strongly saturated through our bhakti practice, our sadhana bhakti. And when the mind tries to suggest strategies and different techniques on how to navigate and how to enjoy in an either subtle or gross way, we can avail ourselves of our better self and say, I'm a devotee. I don't do those things. Even if Maya is throwing bones, you say, I'm not a dog. I don't jump after bones. I don't do this. Because I have a higher taste. Param drishtva nivartate. But if I'm not experiencing that higher taste, then I'll be forced again in the realm of Maya to pursue the objects of the senses, which is a very demeaning, a very frustrating endeavor. Yet, when a living entity becomes fortunate, Brahmande Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade by Bhakti Lata Beach. We have been wandering for a long time, for Brahmandas, for millennia, for lifetimes. But when the living entity becomes fortunate, and it gets that opportunity of bhakti, how does the living entity get that opportunity of bhakti? When a bhakta comes, when a devotee comes and suggests some alternative, some other type of strategy. Yesterday I just walked down to the beach and I met one friendly fellow in a 1982 Jaguar who also has a camper van that he lives in. And he was your typical, you can say driftwood. The typical, 47-year-old person that gets washed up on the shore. His wife died on an overdose. But he remembered that him and his wife back in the day were once sleeping behind the temple. And the devotees mercifully allowed them to sleep there. They just said, just be gone in the morning before the boss shows up, okay? But he remembered that kindness, that act of hospitality, so to say, of that devotee. And he took the books and he said, look, I'm not in my right state of mind right now. And I didn't say, yeah, I knew that before you were telling me. But I said, I appreciate your sincerity. And he happily took books and contributed. I also met Omar, one of our friendly skater friends just down here, who remembered the pizza that he received from one of our brahmacharis. And he took 3 books and happily contributed. And so many other individuals, they're bhagyavan, they're fortunate. Why? Because they met a devotee. And what does a devotee tell you? No. It's not working. No, they tell them, look, this is the business you should get involved in, or you should invest into this, or you should join my group, or be a follower, a friend of my whatever. No, a devotee says, look, there are alternatives. There is a positive alternative. Try this out. You've tried everything. Why not try this? I had a young couple on Haight Street who were just walking around, only looking, not buying. And I showed her the book, and she said, I already have that one. I got it in Balboa Park. And I said, yeah, from my brother, Vijay, the monk. He's sitting there at the table. And she said, how did you know? I said, hey, I got brothers in many places. I know what's going on. And she happily continued her journey by taking another book. And so many times people need to have a few encounters before they can build up the courage, before they can build up the trust that, yeah, I want to really try this. They want to, like you read the reviews, right? You see what got 5 stars. You also read the 1-star reviews before you purchase something. Do you do that? You ever do that? I know you guys don't shop online. I'm wasting this on you, but you should look what are people saying about this thing before you purchase it. So you want to know for yourself. Why? Pratyaksha. You want to have a direct experience, a direct perception. But because you don't know that item, you want to hear from others. What is their experience when they interacted with this? That's as close as your pratyaksha will be till you open that box and you see like this is some flimsy junk. I can just toss this. I can just toss this out. This is not going to work for me. So without application, there is no realization and there's no transformation. If I don't apply myself to this practice of bhakti on a level of the heart, on a level of the emotion, on a level of the full involvement, it will stay merely theoretical. It will just stay information. No application, no transformation. So the realization is lacking. So people want to know, what's in your heart, dude? Give me a piece of your mind. What's your realization? And unless and until we have realizations beyond bookish knowledge, beyond just copy-paste, beyond just telling the truth, but in a mechanical, in an external way, like our Christian friend who is, talking to the birds out there. And people are just avoiding him because they feel like, what's the point? I want to know, who are you? What's your story? I know you're fried. I know you're disappointed. I know you're angry. I figured that out just by looking at you. But I want to know what's behind the mask. So bhakti is not just about fare una bella figura, just making a good impression, just looking good, or you look very spiritual. That's why we shouldn't waste time with social media, trying to look very spiritual or trying to look very meditative, as if anybody would be impressed or as if anybody would care or get into the practice because they see some spiritual dude posting pictures of himself, right? Have you ever wondered? Like, if the experience is so great, why do you need to take a picture of it? And that can be about anything. Why not just live life? Isn't that good enough? Why not just unplug, just delete all the accounts and live in the real world, which means right now, in this moment, our experience, our pratyaksha, our realization should be so full, should be so endearing, so enticing, so ecstatic, that we forget about everything else. We're fully absorbed. That is samadhi. That is the actual state of yoga. That's where we want to go. So Sankirtan yoga means to invest all our emotions, all our sensory capacity in this yajna, in this sacrifice. And in this way experiencing Krishna's presence and Krishna's magic, Krishna's mystery. And he is magical, he is mysterious because he is the source, he's the origin of everything. So he is everything to its utmost degree. That is Krishna. That's why it's so important that we get out of the safety zone, out of the, monastery, and face ourselves. We face the music in the world, and we see, okay, what is my realization? And how much am I confident? And how do I respond to these to these waves, to these offers, these enticements? As you may have noticed, you walk out the street, and a lot of people will come and they will make you propositions, like watch this, listen to this, buy this, eat this, or even more than that. No need to go there. So unless we are deeply immersed and deeply satisfied in our bhakti practice, our mind will again trick us and say, why not? No one's watching. Why not? One time I was in Moscow when the temple was still in Dynamo, which is central downtown Moscow. I'm sure you were there. On a big parking lot, they put some containers together and made a makeshift temple out of it. And it's like being in prison because, you have a porta-john in the corner of your room, and it's pretty small, confined spaces. And we had nice program there. And then I went out for a walk. And in front of me was a person walking who was wearing a dhoti and a kurta. It was summer. And, Sunday, late afternoon, nice breeze. And I was walking behind, and I got closer because I'm walking faster. And then that person took out a pack of cigarettes and took out a cigarette and was lighting up a cigarette. And he's in the dhoti with kurta. And I walked past him, and I looked over, and I said, not such a good idea. And he caught it, and he put it away. And he said... Yeah, put it back in his pocket. I didn't want to pick, an argument, and my Russian's not that good, So, but he got the idea that maybe that's not such a good idea. So unless we have a control over our faculties, and some friends also who can give us feedback and who can say, just cut it out, just don't do it, It's not worth it. Just be a happy devotee. It'll be all right. So otherwise, we may again be tempted and compromised. I was distributing books in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and there was the art fair. Have you heard of the Ann Arbor Art Fair? One of the biggest art fairs in the country. Literally, everyone's there. And so I just went up to the artists because the people who go look at stuff, nah. So I went into a booth of one lady, and I showed her the books, and she got very emotional. So she said, look, I'm from Lithuania, which is in the Baltics, former Soviet Union. And when I was a young girl, I had many existential questions and many difficulties in my life, but the Bhagavad Gita answered all my questions. But when I was 16, my parents decided that we should migrate to America, to the United States. So I had to leave behind my art, my friends, my books, my life, everything, and start from scratch with nothing. And now I'm here, 35 years later, I'm an accomplished artist, and you come into my booth and you give me the same book that really affected my life. So she got very emotional. She gave good donation, took a stack of books. So you can see how Krishna is doing the magic. Another time, I walked over the crosswalk, and another middle-aged lady was there, and we just had a little chat there. And she said, I'm from El Salvador, and things were really, really hard. I don't know if you know history, but El Salvador's got some very colorful past. So she said that things were very difficult, but I read the Bhagavad Gita and I understood that I have to give my life to God. So I just raised my hands into the air and I said, God, take charge of my life. And that's what I've been doing ever since. So now she's in the States. She got 4 kids. And she took books and I asked her, what are you going to do now? She said, I'm going to walk over this crosswalk and sit down with those people and chant Hare Krishna for half an hour. Then I have to go and pick up my daughter from the hair place, So that's what she did. Then after half hour, she came back to me, gave me more money, and picked up some more beads for her daughter so she could also teach her the chanting. So that happens, Bhagavan, when a person becomes fortunate because they met devotees. They met, their vasanas, their impressions are of a different quality, are of a different kind. So we're very grateful that this opportunity has been given to us. And as a little token of gratitude to Srila Prabhupada, we should try to share this with others. And people will be responsive because the living entity is looking for joy. The living entity is looking for pleasure. There is no way around it. That is our nature. That is our birthright. So we should not try to become just Munis, Gyanis, yogis, philosophers. In one purport, Prabhupada makes this long list of all these people who are who are quite accomplished in their own right, but they're all missing the point that you have to invest your emotions with Krishna. Otherwise, your emotions will again compromise you. Have you ever been compromised by your emotions, by your sensory faculties, which are governed by the mind, who have not been involved with Krishna to a point of satisfaction? It has happened to most of us. So that's why this process of bhakti is very wonderful, because as Maharaj Ambarish is showing us, you can engage everything in Krishna's service, because it's all his. It's all his. It's all his energy. It's all his opulence. Hare Krishna. Any comments or questions?
Hare Krishna.
Hey,
1 second.
Yes, I can wait, no problem.
Hare Krishna.
We value the real people over
No, this guy's, he's good. He's
Yeah,
just
I know.
a little...
I heard him yesterday.
Okay. It seems unfair that we're talking about how the living entity is swept away, the tiny jiva and the unlimited ocean and so many waves and why? I want to serve Krishna. I want to be a devotee. I want to surrender. I want to engage in devotional service. Why is Krishna letting all these things hit me? Why has he thrown the living entity into the material nature where there's so much, we're just overwhelmed? It's not fair. It's almost sadistical. What are my odds? You throw me in a boxing ring with a gorilla, just give me a break. I just want to, go back to Godhead. I want to be a devotee. Why is the material nature so strong? Doesn't seem like a fair alignment.
Do you know Guru Gauranga? I mean, you know Guru Gauranga? New York, Guru Gauranga. I mean, he's down in Florida, the lawyer. So I had a discussion with him, and he scored 500 out of 500 in that test, and he got like top marks in everything. That's his caliber. So he said in law school, there's a few words that you're not allowed to use. One of them is fair. Never tell a judge this is not fair. He will tell you, look, kid, there is the law, and that's reality. And what's fair and what's unfair, you can discuss that, with your girlfriend or your dog, but it's not relevant to the court of law, because it's about the law. It's about the facts of life. So unless and until we can actually live in a sober way and take the emotions out of the equation and look at it realistically, we'll always be cheated by our mind. There's not just an ocean with waves, there's also all kinds of creatures out there. Not just the big white ones, there's also a few other ones. Like some places you go into the water and you get these, jelly things, jellyfish and, different things that can sting you or eat you or poison you or, all kinds of stuff. Or very, very banal, very boring, you just get water in your ear and you get an inner ear infection. Have you ever had some kind of stuff like that? One time we were down in Odessa, Ukraine, and we were playing soccer with the boys, at the festival with Bhakti Vibhav Swami, and a lot of sadhus were there, and we were very happy just having a Krishna conscious gathering. But there was a problem. There was a lot of shells in the sand, and some of them were cracked. So when you run around on those, they cut your feet, and you don't really notice it. And then the sand goes into those wounds, and it's very painful. And I had to go to the doctor to get all that stuff out. So the material world is a very sticky place. And therefore the Bhagavatam is very honest and very realistic to explain to us what the scenario is here. So it's not about fairness, it's about realism. So we're not pessimists, we're realists. We're just explaining how it is and making people aware that there is a way out. There is there is a way out of this mess. Well, we have to stick to the plan. That means stay on the boat, follow the instructions of the captain, don't do weird stuff that will, get you overboard, and just stick with the program, and then it's possible it will work out. But this idea of like, I can be a good guy in this world and, enjoy in a religious way, in a nice way, and I won't be affected. It's not going to work. Because at the best, you go to a better life form, to a higher planet, and you'll be stuck there forever, suffering and enjoying, because somebody always got better, somebody always got more, somebody always is cooler and more accomplished. I don't know if that helps.
I was sort of just trying to spur your
Okay.
further.
Okay.
I wasn't really too overwhelmed.
Okay, no, I know that. I don't have any other solution, besides sticking to the program. Javita Prabhu.
I could just say one thing to that question.
Please.
One of the bases of that comment that is not fair is that you don't know what you have in your background unless you accept karma and reincarnation. You're getting your just desserts here, but you don't know that you did something, so you don't think it's just. And the extreme thing is, how can there be a God? Is it fair that all these children were killed in the Holocaust? Innocent children? There's no God. There can't be a God who's merciful and all-powerful, and let that happen. That's the ultimate conclusion of that. But without understanding that we have this long background, and therefore we're experiencing this now, so it's completely fair. And we need to, deal with that and get with the program so that we can be forgiven and welcome back into the spiritual world.
Thank you.
And in addition to that, I appreciate the answers. What I was actually thinking was that Arjuna tries the same thing with Krishna. And Krishna says, no. It's not my fault. It's your fault. It's your choices, your decisions, just like you're saying. So we've set ourselves on the course. Don't talk to me about fair and right and just. You made your choices. You're getting the results. Just like you said, it's laws. There's laws of chemistry. There's laws of physics. There's laws of karma. And you've made the choices that have put you where you are. And you can choose to get out of there or you can choose to stay. Don't talk to me about how it's, where's the justice?
Thank you. Other points? Oh, yes. Now, the ominous voice.
Yeah, thank you very much. Prabhu, you're very kind. The quote from the purport related to the verse you chose for today, 5:11:5, is as follows. It is the last sentence of the purport. Quote, due to the living entity's forgetfulness of Krishna, one is bound by the laws of material nature. End quote. So based on this quote, my question is as follows. If remembrance of Krishna by the chanting of the Mahamantra, by the chanting of Hare Krishna, is capable of freeing us from the laws of material nature, why is it that I find devotees and chanters of the Mahamantra being there chanting for already 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years and more, inhabiting their material bodies?
Why they are inhabiting
why
their
is it
material
that
bodies?
after chanting for so many years, still they are inhabiting their material bodies?
What, you want them to die sooner, or what's your point?
My point is that if chanting Hare Krishna makes me remember Krishna, and if remembrance of Krishna frees me from the laws of material nature, why is it that if I am chanting mostly...
That you still have a material body? Because...
Yes.
You got to be here. You got to do your term. You got to serve. Otherwise, as soon as you chant Hare Krishna, you would leave this world. We would be a very, our movement would be quite, we would not be so successful. Let's put it that way. Yeah. As soon as anybody chants, then boom, they're gone. What happened to him? Oh, he became Krishna conscious, so he's gone now. So then all those who would be left would be the people in Maya, and that's not such a great thing. So we just have to be around.
This last sentence of the purport is actually Prabhupada's translation of the Bengali here.
Yes.
Which is a famous verse. And what Prabhupada is translating as one is bound by the laws of meditation is Ateva Mayatar Deya Sangsara Dukkha, is that therefore, because you forget Krishna, therefore you're getting misery at the hands of Maya. You can still be in your body and be so transcendental that you're not feeling the misery. It's like Prahlad, Haridas Thakur.
How about Prabhupada at 83? Ask him why Prabhupada is still around at 88. He was purely he wanted to stay to preach. In other words, he had so much that he was doing. And amazingly, at those last days, the doctors were saying, this is impossible. He has no flesh in his body. He would be in agony. But he's lying there peacefully, and he's asking people, did you get enough prasadam when they come to visit? So the key is this: one is bound by material laws of nature is a translation of samsara dukkha. It's not, Prabhupada is translating it that way. Yes, you're still bound, but you're still in your body, but you're using your body for serving Krishna, and therefore you're not suffering. You're not suffering. The dukkha is gone, and then you finally go and you keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Any other points? Yes.
Thank you for a wonderful class. I really want to say I really appreciate this pastime of the beach scenario, because I kind of relate to that understanding.
You like the beach?
Yeah,
huh?
I like that. It was really nice. But it's more just like comments on just like how did you find out that analogy about like the waves being just like how. How did those waves, like, how did you get with that analogy? Like, what came to you as into mind? Like, how did you make that realization?
You just keep reading Prabhupada's books.
Oh, okay.
And also, we should be perceptive. We should be able, that's part of that vairagena, acquiring that spiritual knowledge, but also having that introspection that you see that when those desires come, they're like waves. They keep hitting you. They come and come and come. But if you can understand that I'm not the scenario, I'm just a spectator. I'm just watching this drama go on here. And it's not me. It's just the modes interacting with each other. So all of a sudden, you're free from it. It's right there. Yeah. So this is Shastra. That's where we get our examples, our analogies, all these insights from. It's not that one day you're walking on the street and, poof, you just have the epiphany. It just pops into your head. But you actually get to see that how this relates to real life, because you can contextualize it, because you not only read it, discussed it, but you've seen how it actually feels on your own skin, being tossed around the ocean of material existence. And it's heavy. When that big one comes, that grinds you into the sand, you're in the washing machine. It's pretty scary. And you get a few good breaths of salt water in your system. Huh? Has this ever happened to you? So then you realize, like, whoa, wow, this could have wiped me out. This could have been it. And it sobers you up. It makes you a little bit more aware that I need to become serious about my Krishna consciousness. Because if that would have been the exit moment, I'm not sure where I would wound up, because I was not really there. as far as my consciousness is concerned. That's why good is not good enough. Just being a good guy doesn't get you anything. I mean, if you're a good guy, you may get a free candy, a small one, you know. The next one you have to buy. But if you actually want the real deal, you have to apply yourself and hear from the right source for a long time. And as you're doing, you're in the right place, you're doing the right thing. Just be patient. Don't think it's going to happen just in one afternoon or in a month. We've been hanging around the mature world for a very long time. So to create new impressions, these vasanas, these impressions, every time you experience something, it creates an impression. And after a while of these impressions, this becomes a habit. And then it becomes your second nature. Then it becomes your character. Then it becomes your swabhav, your way of being. You can't live without Krishna. You can't live without Bhakti. Mode of goodness is good, but not good enough. You know, I have to do better than that. Because otherwise I'll still be trapped. I may be trapped with golden shackles, but I'm still trapped. And I don't want to be trapped because I want to be able to serve Krishna. I want to be able to be an instrument of Krishna's compassion. And that necessitates that you can move freely. Only the ones who are collaborating with the government, they're free, even if they're in the prison house, because they will be there in a different capacity. They won't be there as prisoners. Thank you for your kind attention. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanandi.